Hello viewers, and welcome to the first edition of our health talk show on Great Television. My name is Christiana and I'm your host on today's show, which is Yes to Healthy Life. Our viewers can send their questions through our Facebook page on GTV, Great TV. A health to a man is paramount, and it's what comes first before anything is considered. Without proper healthcare and education, governance as a whole is equal to nothing. Join me as I bring to you Yes to Healthy Life, which is sponsored by Heduke Foundation, an NGO which creates awareness for various health issues that affect the general public. And with Heduke, we say, yes, every life matters. Today, we are very privileged to have with us a special guest who is a mother and also a wife. And she's going to educate us more on today's topic, which is obesity, weight loss, healthy eating, or what we call nutrition. Thanks for coming and welcome to the show, madam. Yeah, can you introduce yourself and then tell us what you do, your occupation?
Hello to all our viewers. My name is Hannatu Sule Aseidu Kurang. I'm a nutritionist, public health nutritionist. So my work usually entails speaking to the populace about being healthy in general, but especially through the food we eat, our nutrition, and making sure that we're doing things right to stay healthy. And like you said, yes, I am a mother and a wife as well. So we try and put everything together.
Okay, thank you very much for coming. And you're welcome to the show.
Thank you.
I want to know, the first question, when we say obesity, what is obesity?
Okay, obesity, should I say it's more like a clinical word or a technical word for the state of a person where there's unusual or abnormal accumulation of fat, excessive fat from the food we eat in the body. Okay. And that results in them going beyond the normal. For every human being, whether it's children or adults, we expect that according to their height, they would have a healthy weight that their body or their structure, their skeleton or their skeletal system can handle. Okay. When it goes beyond what is healthy for them, then we'll say you've gone overweight, and then the extreme condition or state of being over your healthy weight is what we will technically call obesity. And there are so many, there are a number of parameters that would help us to be able to detect that. And then we'll say somebody is obese. And there are different levels. It could be moderate or it could be severe.
Okay. Okay, thank you. And our next question is, I want to know, is being fat different from obesity, or like they're the same?
Okay, so I would say being fat, it's more like the street language, and then obesity is the technical one. So if in everyday language we say, oh, this person is fat, or I am fat, or etc. But then fatness, whether your perception of somebody being fat could be that they're just overweight, or the other person being fat could be that they're moderately obese or severely obese. Okay. So that's the difference. In everyday language, we would hear ourselves say that, oh, this person is fat. But then obesity, like I said earlier on, is technically being clinically being diagnosed or being detected to be over the healthy weight that we would expect one to be in. Yes.
Okay. Okay. And when is one considered as being obese?
Okay, so there are a number of measures. The common measure or indicator that we'll normally use to detect obesity is what we call BMI, and I'm sure most of our viewers would have heard about the expression BMI. So it's body mass index. And this is it's a derivative, it's a measure of one's weight in kilograms over their height in meters. So this is a mathematical derivative, or if I should say, or a calculation that will give you a figure to and we have ranges in which, you know, we can categorize one to say whether they're overweight, they've gone over their normal healthy weight I would expect them to have for their height, and then say whether they're just overweight or they've gone beyond that to be obese, severely obese, moderately, etc. Now, so the figures, normally if, you know, one gets their BMI measured, they'll say, oh, you're overweight, or you have a normal weight. We would expect, or even underweight, because it takes care of the whole spectrum. So for an adult, between the figure of about 19 to about 24, so when this calculation is made according to your weight and your height, between 19 to about 24, you're considered to be within your healthy weight. And then anything between 25 and 30, that's you've gone over, you're overweight. And then from 30 upwards, then that's obese. And it, obviously, and for some people, it goes way beyond the 30, and then we can say that they're severely obese. And in most cases, those come with other underlying conditions as well, or, you know, accompanying conditions. That's when it's really severe. So those are so that's one of the usual measures that clinicians will use, or dietitians or nutrition, or even doctors would use. The other thing is the circumference, or your waist circumference. So just a measure of your waist, just using the usual tape measure to measure your midriff, and anything for men, anything beyond 94 centimeters, or about 37 inches, we would say that this person is overweight. And for women, usually anything beyond 80 centimeters or about 31 inches, we would say that they're inching towards being more, you know, being overweight, over their normal weight. And that's mainly because for most people, like I said earlier on in the discussion, that the obesity occurs, or overweight occurs, when there's abnormal deposition of excessive fat. And for most people, the excess fat that our body stores from the food that we eat is around the belly area, so the waist area. So, you know, that's where most of the deposits go, and that's why it's been found that, you know, waist circumference, a measure of the waist circumference, is also an indicator of, you know, whether one is overweight or getting into the obesity spectrum.
Okay. Oh, okay. Thank you. And you've said a lot of things about how we will know if the person is obese or not.
Yes.
I want to know, is there a specific symptom or a sign or something that you see in the person, like?
Okay. Well, the main thing is you can't just look at somebody and say, oh, this person, of course, for some people, you know, especially if you know them in terms of their structure, you can say, oh, they look like they're fat, or they look like they have excessive weight. And but then, like I just mentioned, the BMI is one measure, and then it may not be the most perfect measure of you know, being overweight or being obese. And then also the waist circumference. But I guess what we're trying to find out here is, do we show any symptoms when we are obese? Well, it's more for excessive weight, it's more obvious, I mean more physical. Definitely you will see, you know, the size of the person, definitely. And then for some people, depending on the level of obesity, they may go on to develop other clinical conditions. That's because the whole phenomenon of being overweight or being obese puts one at risk of other clinical conditions, especially non-communicable diseases. And when we talk about non-communicable diseases, we're talking about conditions or clinical conditions that are not, should I say, infectious, you know, like if I cough, you know, and somebody picks it up. But then there are conditions that are more long-term. Non-communicable conditions are more long-term. So we're talking about the cardiovascular diseases, you know, the type 2 diabetes, and some cancers, etc. So physically, yes, for most people who are obese, you would see it. But then again, I just want to stress here that in terms of the BMI that's used to measure, you know, the overweight and you know, state of obesity, it may not be, I mentioned that it may not be the most perfect measure of it. That's because that we're measuring weight and height. For some people, they're just muscular. They have more muscle, and it's not necessarily fat that is contributing to their weight. So that when you have that kind of scenario, then we use other measures in addition to the BMI measure to be able to detect whether somebody is overweight or obese, and and therefore we find appropriate ways to help them to achieve the healthy weight. So it wouldn't be like, oh, you get a headache or you're blue in the face or anything. No, but then and for most people, you would know in yourself also that if your clothes don't fit anymore, etc. You would know that something is not.
Okay. And with this, can you get it from like a family, like inherited? Like there are some families. To me, my family, we are all like big in the family, but it's just that we try to control our weights like along the line. But can you inherit it like from your family or something?
Now the main I guess I'll take this opportunity to talk about what causes of obesity are, what the causes are, I believe in. So mainly overweight and obesity mainly come about as a result of lifestyle changes. So and lifestyle changes in terms of what we eat and how active we are. So those are the two main things. So whether you're eating healthily, watching what you're eating, coming from, eating from the food groups that will make sure your diet is balanced, and at the same time, then in addition to that, being active. For children, at least 60 minutes of exercise or physical activity a day, and for adults, at least 150 minutes of physical activity a week. It doesn't mean all at once, but you can spread it, And then the third factor, what you just mentioned, that there has been research to prove that to an extent, there is some element of hereditary when it comes to weight or structure of one's body with relation to the family or your stock. So there has been a lot of research to show that for some people, somehow their DNA predisposes them to just being either big boned or so like you said, in your family, everybody seems to look big, but it may not necessarily mean that you are overweight or obese. So according to your height, we can check and say, okay, yes, you might look slightly bigger than your neighbor, but then doesn't mean that you are unhealthy or your weight is not healthy for you. But it's just the most important thing is to know, that where you lie. But also, apart from just being big boned and having more muscle than others, for some people their metabolic rate is different from others. So some people just have slower metabolic rates, meaning that it takes a long time for the body to process the digest the food and absorb, etc. And for some people it's quicker, so they're able to expend and use it quicker than others. So those are the differences when we talk about hereditary in terms of weight and gaining weight or losing weight. Those are that's the element there, the hereditary element. That's where it comes in, that yes, for some families you say, oh, they can eat everything but they don't put on any weight. And most of the time when you investigate, you find out that they have very high metabolic rates, so they're able to process the food, burn it quite quickly and utilize it quickly, as compared to others. For some people too, maybe because of some medication they're taking or some underlying clinical condition that they have, it may reduce their ability to utilize their food. And one very common condition is hypothyroidism, when the thyroid glands are not working properly and they're not producing the hormones that they're supposed to be producing to regulate the whole body function. Hypothyroidism is one condition that can lead to that.
Okay, thank you. And then I want to know, it's this obesity, is it treatable? And in what effective ways can we
so,
treat it?
Yes, obesity is definitely treatable, especially, and for most people who are overweight or obese, it's about the lifestyle changing. And we find out that it didn't happen, you know, people don't just wake up one day and they've gone over their healthy weight. It happens over a period of time, because we're talking about food, we're talking about what you eat, your diet, and you know, you eat every day, you eat over the years. So it's about what is going into your food, your choice of food, what goes into your plate. So making those changes over a period of time, obviously with the help of the right professionals, yes, you can come back to, you could be helped to get to your expected healthy weight. That's how I put it. And then of course that goes with being physically active. Now when we talk about physical activity here, we're talking about engaging in physical activities, exercise, or any physical, involving your body physically in such a way that it would cause your heart rate to go up a bit, and then just at the verge of just producing sweat. That means that you've been able to work yourself enough to burn a certain amount of energy that's stored in the body, you know, to get rid of it, so that you don't, because anytime we eat and we don't use the excess, then the body stores it, like I said earlier, stores it in the form of fat in the body. So it is treatable. And then also for those who may have other conditions or on medication that, you know, may result in, you know, maybe a side effect may result in their system being slowed down, so they kind of gain weight, you know, much to their dislike. There are, of course, the professionals there who could look at ways of managing them in a way that they can come back to their healthy weight. Yes.
Okay. Thank you so much. Viewers, I hope we've learned a lot so far. We'll be taking a short break from our sponsors, and when we come back, we will discuss more. So stay tuned and don't make a move.
Educa Foundation, in partnership with GN Group of Companies, present Charity Fundraising Dinner and Dance. Theme: When Love Takes You In. Date: 21st April 2018, 6 p.m. to 11 p.m. Venue: Woodhill School, Woodhill, Woolwich, London, SE18 5JE. Tickets £30 single and £50 couple. Performing live will be Alapino and the Ozium Band. This program is in aid of underprivileged children with sickle cell disease in Ghana.
Welcome back to Yes to Healthy Life on Great Television Show. As we discussed earlier on, we've learned a lot about obesity and its implications. Now we'll talk about weight loss and healthy eating. When we talk about weight loss and healthy eating, what do we mean by weight loss, and when does weight loss becomes necessary?
Okay, so thank you for that. On the back of what we've just discussed about overweight and obesity, healthy eating is very crucial to attaining our desired healthy weight that would expect for everyone, whether it be it's a child or an adult. And healthy eating entails putting together the diet, or what constitutes the food that we eat every day, putting them together from the food groups that we are expected to pick food from. So in the UK here, we have a tool to help us as a population to make sure that our diets are healthy, and that's what we call the Eat Well Guide. So viewers you can just Google it, find the Eat Well Guide, or look on the Public Health England website, and you find it. It's just, it used to be called the Eat Well plate. It's just a circular diagram or a picture. It used to be in the form of a plate, you know, with a fork and a knife or a spoon on the side. And it's just, it has segments in there of the various food groups that we're expected to choose our foods from. So you have the carbohydrate group, the fruit and vegetables, the dairy group, then the protein group. So and it shows you the proportions of what should constitute what goes onto your plate. So if you imagine you have a meal, what should go into it and the proportions into it. If we form a habit, make it a lifestyle of picking from all these groups in the appropriate way, then one could be considered to be eating healthily and of course also doing maintaining physical activity. Now if we are eating properly, healthily, over a period of time, we're not likely to have weight loss issues, because if you're maintaining a healthy weight, you don't need to lose it. So that's just it. It's just maintaining the balance. So it's very very crucial that we maintain a good habit of eating healthily, and then we wouldn't have weight loss issues. We wouldn't have the occasion to do that.
And on this eating healthy, I want to know, I learned something about not skipping a meal, because I had that habit of skipping breakfast, and then sometimes I just snack in the afternoon, and then in the evening I eat late. And normally when we eat late, we eat on a bigger plate. But later on, I was told that eating in smaller portions, like 5 a day, is better than like bigger portion. So can you explain to us and then advise or tell us why we shouldn't skip any of our meals?
Okay, so the part of making it a good habit of eating healthily is the number of meals you have in a day. So and of course, and then the portion, the amount of food that's actually on your plate. So that's what we call portion control. Now, for most people, we would have 3 regular meals in a day. So you would have breakfast, you'd have lunch halfway through the day, and then an evening meal or a late afternoon meal before, and then at least 2 to 3 hours before we retire to bed. And then for some people, they would have a snack in between. So between breakfast and lunch, you would have a brunch, maybe a snack somewhere, and then between lunch and dinner, you'd have, so then you'd have 5 occasions to eat during the day. Now, if I just mentioned portion control, if we are eating regular meals, you're having regular breakfast. When we wake up in the morning, and it's said, and I'm sure most of our viewers have heard, that the breakfast is actually the most important meal of the day. When you slept through the night, assuming that your normal routine is you sleep through the night and then wake up, your body has been in a fasting state over the night before the morning. So it's very crucial what you put in your system to get your system started and ready for the day, your activity for the day. So it's very crucial to have breakfast, and not just anything for breakfast, but again, we have, fortunately, we have a guide to help us to pick the food groups, what we would have for breakfast. And then for snacking, like you said, you'd skip one meal and then have a snack somewhere. Skipping that meal, remember that if your body has been in a state of fast during the night, you've woken up, is expecting, naturally our bodies have been designed to, we have kind of like a clock, knowing which time of the day, etc. So when it's night, your body functions in a certain way. And during the day, as you're going about your activity, your body also functions in a certain way in terms of how your body even processes the foods that we eat. So if you're skipping breakfast and then you're having a snack, your body was expecting some food to come and it didn't. So the likelihood that you're going to snack excessively is very high. And unfortunately for most of us, and again for where we find ourselves in the world, most of the snacks are very, very high in fat and sugar and salt. And these are the 3 culprits that usually give us issues when we talk about weight. So that's the point. So you're more than likely to have more than you need. And then what does the body do? It would nutritionally, you might not get much from it, but then it would store the rest of it. So if it's all fat and all sugar, if the body takes what it needs at that point, it would store the rest. But remember that you probably are lacking some vitamins because you didn't have any fruits in there. And then lunch, and then if you skip lunch again, remember by the time you have that evening meal, like the common expression, you feel like you can eat a whole horse.
Yeah.
That's it. So then your portions go out of control, and if you keep that as a lifestyle, you're doing that every day over a period of time, you're putting your body in a state of some sort of imbalance, and then you're storing more calories than you need, because you're definitely taking in more than you need. And then you're storing the excess in fat over a period. It's abnormal. Your weight is going to go up, and then you come back to the point where you need to manage it. So it's better to have smaller meals, many of them. So at least if it's 3 regular meals you have a day, that's fine, or 5 in between. That's better than just having 2 or 1 in a day. It's just because of the when you see, and remember, when we see food as well, our body reacts in a certain way. So you just feel like you need more. So the danger is for you consuming more than you need, than just, because you feel you've lost something, so you want to make up for it, which is not really right. Yes.
Okay. And then are there any medication to help in weight loss? And if there is, what are the side effects?
Okay. Yes, there are medications. In some jurisdictions, some medications are actually available on the counter that people just go and get them, and it helps them. But in the UK, yes, there are medications available to help with weight loss, but they are under strict supervision, and you can. It's only in extreme cases where the lifestyle strategies have not worked or are not working, depending on the individual. Then and it has to go through a health professional, so it has to go through a doctor, and they would recommend the medication. And what these medications do, this group of medications do, is they're mainly preventing your body from absorbing certain nutrients, and mainly absorbing fat. So that what is already in the body can be used, can be broken down. So when you eat, the body, these medications, so that's just the science behind it, is that these medications prevent your body from absorbing the fat that is in the food that you eat, so that you're not depositing any more than is already in the body, and then over a period of time the weight is managed in that way. But a health professional has to recommend that and manage an individual on that kind of medication. Side effects, like everything else, depending on the person, depending on the individual's system, how they handle medication in general, or how their body will handle it, they may react. And of course, like everything else, if one sees any sign or any symptom, you speak to your health professional, and then that will be dealt with. But I guess in most cases, there's always an assessment before one is put on that. So as much as possible, these side effects are minimized. Yes.
Okay. And can you please tell us what type of food will be necessary? Like, I know we have this carbohydrate food, protein, minerals, and fiber, and can we get like specific, like the type of food that can help us during this weight loss?
Okay, so I'll come back to the Eat Well guide, which is what in the UK would help us find out or put together a meal. So we've got the main food groups are, we've got the fruits and vegetables, and we know fruits and vegetables are they're usually very colored, and that's because they contain a lot of micronutrients, so the vitamins and the minerals that our body so needs to keep our system going. And that usually is recommended to take about 1/3 of whatever food you're eating, your meal. And then we've got the starches and the carbohydrate groups, so that will constitute the grains, the cereals, the breads, the potatoes, the rices, so the carbohydrate groups. And then we've got the protein group,
Yeah.
so the meat, the fish, and then the legumes and pulses, so the beans and the etc. And then we've got the dairy group, which is a smaller group there, which is the milk-based group, dairy-based, and the butters and the cheeses. There's a very small. And then the oils and fats group, it's even thinner. So just a little bit of it that we need in there to go into our meals. So the main groups are the fruits and vegetables, which will give us the minerals and vitamins, and then the starchy carbohydrates. Of course, we need carbohydrates because that's the main source of energy for us. And then the protein group, which we need to build up our tissues. And then, of course, the dairy group, and then the fat group, just a little bit of those as well. So if we're picking from these groups, putting our meals together based on this, we should be making some headway, some progress.
Okay, thank you very much. For now, I just want to ask if you could give us a short advice on the whole topic, like to summarize everything.
Okay.
Yeah, if you could give our viewers out there any advice on how to eat well and stay healthy.
Okay.
Yeah.
So to put everything together, summarize everything, I would say that first of all, for each one of us, there is an expected healthy weight for us based on our height, and to achieve this, we need to have our diets balanced. And having a balanced diet simply means that putting together your meal, each meal that you have, based on the food groups that the body needs. So that's the fruits and vegetables. Eat a lot more of that. So at least a third of what we eat should be that, and then carbohydrates, a third of that as well. And then the other third of our plate should be a combination of the proteins, the dairy group, and then the little bit of fat. If we put our meals together, we're bearing all these in mind, and then staying active. For children, 60 minutes, about an hour of physical activity a day, and it doesn't have to be one straight hour. It could be, you could spread it throughout the day. So it could be simple things as walking to school. Maybe it's a 10-minute walk to school, 10-minute walk back, another 15 minutes walking around the block or up and down the road, or spending time in the garden or in the playground, etc. You could easily achieve those 60 minutes in a day, and for adults about at least 150 minutes in a week. And so every day, if you try and do 30 minutes of physical activity, that's very good. And then so it's just to make sure that we are deliberate about what we put in our bodies, what we eat, and then be also deliberate about staying active. I believe keeping that balance will go a long way to keep us healthy, healthier throughout.
Okay, well, viewers, I wish we will continue to learn more, but we have to pave way for our next program. I would like to say a big thanks to our special guest for today, Mrs. Hannah Tusule Asiedu, for taking her time out to educate us, and my able producer as well, for making it possible to bring this show to our viewers out there. I also like to thank all our viewers for your contribution, and thank you very much. Watch out for our next week, same time, from 3 to 4 p.m. on Yes to Healthy Life, which is brought to you by Heduke Foundation. And with Heduke, we always say every life matters. Thank you very much.